Welcome to episode 38 of Gods and Heroes of Ancient Greece. My name is MyLinda, Butterworth, and today we continue with the tale of Theseus with the story of Theseus and Pirithous. Theseus was famed for extraordinary strength and courage. Pirithous, one of the most noted heroes of antiquity, a son of Ixion, was eager to put his valor to the test, and to this end stole from Marathon cattle belonging to the king of Athens. Soon he heard that Theseus had armed and was coming in hot pursuit. At this he was greatly pleased, and far from taking flight, turned to meet his opponent. When the two heroes were near enough for one to measure the other, each one was so moved with admiration for his adversary's beauty and boldness that they both threw down their weapons as though at a given signal and hastened towards each other. Pirithous stretched his right hand out to Theseus and begged him to be judge concerning the theft of the herds, saying that he would willingly submit to whatever satisfaction Theseus thought fit. "The only satisfaction I ask," answered Theseus with shining eyes, "is that one who is my enemy and seeks to harm me become my friend and comrade in arms." And now the two heroes embraced and swore everlasting friendship. Soon after this, Pirithous courted Hippodamia, a Thessalian princess from the race of Lapithae, and invited Theseus to the wedding. The Lapithae, in whose country the feast was held, were a well-known people of Thessaly, mountain folk, resembling animals rather than men, the first mortals to succeed in taming horses. But the bride, who was descended from this line, had nothing in common with them. She was lovely of form, and her face had such delicate charm that the guests thought that Pirithous fortunate to have won her. All the princes of Thessaly had come to the banquet, and the kinsmen of Pirithous also appeared. They were centaurs, creatures that were half men and half beasts, who were descended from the monster born by the cloud that Ixion, father of Pirithous, had classed, thinking it Hera. This was why they were often called the sons of clouds. These and the Lapithae were enemies of long standing, but this time the fact that the centaurs were kinsmen to the bridegroom had made them forget their old grudge and lured them to the joyful ceremony. The palace of Pirithous was gaily decorated and swarming with guests and serving men. Songs were sung for the bride, and the halls were warm and fragrant with the steam and the scent of food and wine. They could not hold on who had come, so the Lapithae and the centaurs mingled with one another at tables spread in the shadow of leafy groves. For a long time the feast went on in light-hearted merriment, but an overabundance of wine had maddened the heart of Eurytion, the wildest among the centaurs, and when he looked at lovely Hippodamia, he conceived the bold plan of carrying off the bride. No one knew how it happened. No one had noticed how it began. But suddenly the guests saw Eurytion dragging Hippodamia, who resisted and screamed for help, across the floor by her long, shining locks. The centaurs, heated and fuddled with wine, took this as a signal, and before the Lapithae and their guests could even rise from their places, each centaur had seized one of the Thessalian girls who served at the king's court and clutched her as a prize. Palace and gardens resembled a conquered city. The cries of women shrilled through the wide halls. Quickly, the friends and kinsmen of the bride leaped from their seats. "What folly is this, Eurytion?" cried Theseus. "Are you mad to insult Pirithous while I am alive, and thus offend two heroes by provoking one?" With these words, he snatched the girl from his rough hands. Eurytion said nothing at all, for he could not defend his action, but he raised his arms and struck the king of Athens a blow in the chest. Theseus had no weapon at hand, but he reached for a bronze pitcher which happened to be standing near, and dashed it in the face of his assailant so that he fell badly wounded. "To arms!" the call rang out from the centaurs, still seated at the board. First cups and jars and bowls hurtled through the air. Then one impious fellow robbed the nearby temples and the holy altars of the precious vessels dedicated to the gods, while another tore from the wall the metal rings which held the torches lighting the banquet, and yet another fought with the antlers which hung in the grotto both as adornments and votive offerings. The Lapithai were slaughtered mercilessly. Rhetus, second in fierceness only to Rhaetian, snatched a brand from the altar and thrust it into the gaping wound of an opponent, so that the blood hissed like iron in the foundry. But Dryas, the bravest of the Lapithai, countered by casting a burning post between the shoulders and neck of Rhetus. His fall halted the orgy of murder to which his comrades had given themselves up, and Dryas took advantage of the pause by killing 5 of them in succession. And now Pirithous flung his spear and pierced a giant centaur, Petrius, who was just dragging an oak out of the earth to use as a weapon. While he was still gripping the tree, the missile pinned his heaving breast to the gnarled trunk. Dictys, another centaur, gave way before the Greek hero, and in falling snapped a mighty ash. A third wanted to avenge him, but Theseus crushed him with a heavy oaken stave. The youngest and fairest among the centaurs was Celeris. His long locks, the color of gold, floated about his face, his neck and shoulders. His hands and breast were as if molded by an artist. The lower part of his body, which was that of a horse, was also flawless. Broad-backed, the chest arched, black of hue, save for his light-colored legs and tail. He had come to the wedding with his beloved, beautiful Hippodamia, who had leaned against him tenderly while he feasted, and now fought staunchly at his side. An unknown hand pierced him to the heart and wounded him unto death, and he sank into her arms. Hippodamia clasped his dying form, kissed him, and tried in vain to keep the sweet breath in his body. When she saw he was dead, she drew the spear from his heart and threw herself upon it. The battle went on and on and on, gaining in fury until the Lapithai had utterly overwhelmed the centaurs. It ended only flight and darkness, save from further slaughter. Pirithous now had undisputed possession of his bride, and the next morning Theseus bade farewell to his friend. The fight in a common cause had strengthened the brotherly bond between them to a bond which could never be broken. And here is where I end my tale for today. But I'll be back tomorrow with more tales, many more tales. Until then, my friends, enjoy the journey.